Welcome back to The Explainer. So you just landed your first real professional job. Congratulations! But look, before you even think about spending that exciting first paycheck, we really need to talk about the modern traps that are literally designed to drain your wealth. Our world is just full of these financial landmines disguised as everyday conveniences and status symbols. Dodging them? Well, that's the real secret to actually getting ahead.
Okay, let's dive right into it. $1.1 million. Just let that sink in for a second. That is the exact amount of money you are losing out on by falling for just one of the socially accepted financial traps we're going to cover today. It's a pretty staggering figure, right? But honestly, it's also super empowering, because once you understand the math behind it, you can easily reclaim that money for yourself.
Now, we aren't here to guilt trip you about your spending. Instead, we're looking at the hard data to build a totally practical blueprint. So here is the agenda. We'll cover the first paycheck trap, dodging convenience drains, rethinking big-ticket milestones, the price of status, and finally, your long-term wealth plan.
All right, Section 1, Dodging Convenience Drains. It's time to stop paying a massive premium for modern tech traps.
Take food delivery apps in 2026, for example. Because of all those hidden markups, service fees, and tips, you're paying a 30 to 40% premium literally just to avoid putting on shoes. Back in 2014, these apps subsidized deliveries to get us hooked. But today? Well, the customer is definitely footing the bill. If you don't have a monthly subscription, a standard $15 burrito will run you close to $29 by the time it hits your doorstep. I mean, no way! That is double the price for a burrito that's probably kind of lukewarm anyway.
And fast food is simply no longer the value option it used to be. So if you're going to drop $14 anyway, redirect that cash to a local sit-down spot where the quality gap is massive. Or, just cook at home. A standard combo meal absolutely shouldn't cost the same as an authentic fresh plate at a local taqueria. The pricing gap between fast food and casual dining has practically vanished, so don't let sheer habit dictate your spending.
The exact same trap applies to your tech. Now, Apple is brilliant at marketing, right? But upgrading a phone that costs well over $1,000 every 12 months, it's just no longer necessary. Try to rate 3 to 4 years between upgrades. Early on, a yearly refresh offered huge leaps in speed and design. But today, the changes are nearly imperceptible to the average user. Stretching out that upgrade cycle keeps literally thousands of dollars in your pocket over your 20s and 30s.
Moving on to Section 2, Rethinking Big-Ticket Milestones. We really need to look at the illusion of the so-called American dream purchases.
10 years ago, buying made total sense. But right now, with mortgage rates hovering around 7%, owning a starter home actually costs significantly more than renting in basically every large metro area, meaning you are throwing away thousands of investable dollars every single month. In places like the Bay Area, you could be paying $3,500 extra a month just for the psychological privilege of owning. If you take that difference and invest it, you're building way more wealth than your home's equity would ever generate.
And then there's your car. The average new car now costs $50,000. And if you finance it over 72 months like most people do, you will pay over $11,000 in interest alone for an asset that rapidly depreciates. Think about that for a second. You're paying a massive premium to the bank just so you can drive something that will lose thousands in value the actual second you drive it off the lot. So every time you're tempted by that $750 average new car payment, you've got to ask yourself, what could that exact same money do if you actually put it to work? When you're just starting out in your career, time is absolutely your greatest asset. Locking yourself into a 7-year depreciating debt cycle just robs you of your most crucial investing years.
This right here is the opportunity cost flip. By choosing a lightly used, maybe 3 to 5-year-old car, you totally bypass that devastating debt cycle. And get this, if you invest that $750 a month into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund instead, you can literally build a $1.1 million nest egg over 30 years. Let someone else take that initial 30 to 40% depreciation hit. You still get a reliable vehicle, but your money goes into the market to work for you, rather than just sitting there as a hunk of metal on your driveway.
Okay, let's look at Section 3, the price of status, or as I like to call it, spending to impress people you don't even care about. Look, when you get that very first real paycheck, the urge to show everyone you've made it can be incredibly strong. But honestly, it's a massive trap. Dropping thousands on bottle service or designer clothes just to stand out is the absolute fastest way to ensure your financial foundation remains completely hollow. The crazy irony of status spending is that you are actively draining your real wealth just to create an illusion of wealth for total strangers.
And this status trap is everywhere. It extends to the $7 trillion wellness industry, constantly trying to sell you shortcuts. It's in big box retailers preying on your anxiety with totally useless extended warranties on electronics. It's even in post-COVID concert culture, where hundreds of dollars in arbitrary Ticketmaster fees have just become normalized. Guys, you don't need a $25 smoothie to be healthy, and you definitely don't need to pay hundreds in invisible fees just to enjoy live music.
Instead of letting corporations and all those ridiculous fees drain your entertainment budget, look for affordable, local alternatives. Seriously, skip the $400 megastar stadium show. Pay $20 to support an amazing, up-and-coming local artist in a 300-person room. You'll often find that the $20 experience is way more intimate, memorable, and fun than sitting in the nosebleeds of a giant stadium after dropping half a month's rent.
So here is the ultimate test. Would you still want to buy that item if absolutely no one else could see it? If the answer is yes, okay, it's a genuine purchase for yourself. But if it's no, you are simply falling for the status trap. Before you swipe that card, just take a brief pause and ask yourself who you are really buying this for.
That brings us to Section 4, your long-term wealth plan. This is all about turning that saved cash into a multi-million-dollar portfolio.
So once you've cut those expenses and freed up that cash, where do you actually put it? Well, the data is crystal clear. Never invest in actively managed mutual funds. Looking at a 30-year span, a seemingly tiny 1% management fee will literally cannibalize $1.2 million of your hard-earned wealth. This is the ultimate hidden trap in the financial world. You assume a professional manager will beat the market, but the data shows that 85 to 90% of them failed to outperform the S&P 500 over the long run. You end up taking all the risk while they siphon off a massive chunk of your final net worth through fees. No thank you.
Here is your exact stealth wealth blueprint, laid out step by step. First, cut the dead weight by eliminating those convenience and status expenses from your budget. Second, ruthlessly audit your employer 401k to ensure your expense ratios are below 0.25%. And third, auto-invest your savings into passively managed low-cost ETFs like VOO, VTI, or FXAIX. It doesn't require a finance degree, you guys. It just requires the discipline to set up automatic transfers into a low-cost fund with an expense ratio of around 0.03%, and then just letting time do its thing.
And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate truth. Both real physical wellness and massive financial wealth aren't found in expensive, flashy shortcuts. They're found in executing very boring, very simple habits consistently. Sleep a full 8 hours, take a walk every single day, drink water, eat real unprocessed foods, and consistently invest in those low-cost index funds. You don't need a complex, actively managed portfolio, just like you don't need a $300 yoga set to be fit. The real magic? It's all in the consistency of the fundamentals. As you navigate your new professional life, keep this in mind. The difference between being on track for retirement and being completely broke could literally just be the difference of a few $100s a month. Avoiding a $29 burrito or a massive car payment is exactly what separates the wealthy from the financially stressed. Those small, everyday decisions compound just as aggressively as your investments do. By opting out of the modern convenience and status economy, you're quite literally buying back your own future.
So it really comes down to this one question. Will your first paycheck fund someone else's corporate profits or your own lifelong financial freedom? It's your money and it's your future. So how will you choose to deploy it? Take this stealth wealth blueprint, apply it to your life this week, and start building the freedom you actually deserve.